Welcome one and all to more Freddi Fish. Let's watch a bunch of movies. In the Fish Theater. This was always, like, my favorite part of this game.
About the theater that just makes my fins tingle with excitement.
Fins tingle. Tingle Tingle Kulu Limpa.
Remember that movie about that fish who had that thing?
Yes, Luther.
Yeah, this... First of all, I just think this atmosphere is kind of cool. And then secondly, we have a lot of movies to choose from. A lot of movies. I mean, I just looped around, but let's get back to the one that was on already. So, we're going to be here for a little while. And none of these are important, but they are all necessary at the same time. Cod Quixote. I think I first learned about the existence of Don Quixote from my Spanish class in elementary school, in which I learned, I don't know whether this is still true, but at least at the time it was supposedly true, that the book Don Quixote was the second best-selling book in the entire world, second only to the Bible. Which seems weird, but at the same time, it did invent a word, that word being quixotic. It was more successful in creating a new word to put in the English language than the book Frindle was. I remember after reading Frindle, the first thing that I did after reading it was I went to the dictionary to see if Frindle was an actual word, and it wasn't, and I was like, eh. And it didn't ruin the whole book for me, but it did feel a little underwhelming. Good. Codzilla, that pun works better than Cod Quixote. I was kind of expecting him to eat the screen, and then he didn't. I am disappointed. I don't remember what the character's name is, but this is the character that is Luther's action figure. It's probably like Captain Codfish or something, I don't know. Action, Adventure, Action Joe, Coming Never. Home-baked pie. Clearly a Superman kind of ripoff. I like that they just looped the same clips over and over again for the trailer because they weren't going to bother making more scenes for a movie that doesn't actually exist. Roma! Sniff in that aroma! What is that? What is that fish? I'm sure it's a fish that actually exists, but that basically just looked like E.T. in Greek times. Okay, so here's the Worm Doodles commercial. I am not going to be speaking over this, just witness the magic, and then I will explain my thoughts on this afterwards.
You gotta have them. Worm Doodle. Squishy, squashy worm doodle in all your favorite flavors. Original, chocolate, sea cucumber, lemon, orange, red, and new fat-free. Grab them, because you gotta have them.
For whatever reason, I was like obsessed with that commercial as a kid, and I would watch it over and over and over again. And I think it's just, I thought the Worm Doodles legitimately looked tasty, and I wished that they existed in real life. I know that they're called Worm Doodles, which means they are worms, but I didn't really think about that at the time. I think my logic was just basically like, I don't know, Nerds rope exists, and that isn't made of rope, it's just nerds in a rope shape. So, I figured Worm Doodles don't have to be made of worms, they can just be in a worm shape. But to me, they basically look like lengthy jelly donuts covered in chocolate, and I think that sounds really tasty. So that's why I wish they existed. And I would actually make fan art of no other part of this game except for the Worm Doodles. Like, quite literally, I made Worm Doodles. So this is the Dracula knockoff. Not the Dracula knockoff, the Dracular. It's Spectacular Dracula. This is one of 2 movies in this theater that contain pie-throwing slapstick. Or maybe not pie-throwing. It's throwing in this case, but just pie in a different one. We'll get there eventually. I like the asymmetrical, fast-moving credits, by the way. That's pretty good. The Krill Seekers! Man, that title logo was not the most professional-looking thing. Let's watch that one again, actually, just to look at this logo for a moment. That is so angular. It looks like it was done... Well, a lot of parts of this game look like they could have been drawn in MS Paint, but that part more than most. That too. These titles are so weird looking. Oh, Fish Gordon. I did not know what Flash Gordon was at this time, whenever I first played this, so that's a reference that I get now that I didn't before. I don't get it to a great extent, but I know that Flash Gordon reappeared in Ted Chumlet. That one always made me laugh as a kid. I would keep replaying it and laughing every time, and I'm not sure why exactly, but I had a good time. Also, that sound effect, that makes me think of Yoshi's Island sound effects. I don't know which ones specifically, but just kind of has that quality to it. And this would be a Charlie Chaplin knockoff. Observe the tire in this scene, which bounces off and then back onto the pile. Yeah, I didn't even really know much about Charlie Chaplin until very, very recently because of college animation classes. And then we've got this. I don't know if this character appears in other Humongous Entertainment works, or if it's just kind of a random thing that they threw in here, but it definitely stands out as being not at all related to fish. It's just whatever this character is. Yeah, it's a little bizarre. Very clearly a James Bond knockoff. This one's very clearly a Tarzan knockoff, although it reminds me more of George of the Jungle because he runs into the screen. And that's everything. I was gonna say, though, with the James Bond parody there, I don't think I knew that much about James Bond at the time that I first played this, so what my mind went to at the time was that Arthur episode with the character who's based on James Bond also. It was like the kids were watching some cool action movie and they wanted to make their own movie, and then they did, but they didn't have the greatest success with it because they didn't know how the camera worked and they were kids, so it was super low budget, but they had fun anyway, and it was just all about the memories. That's kind of... I think that's going to be the running theme of this playthrough, is just all about the memories, because this game is by no means a masterpiece of adult entertainment. It's not the kind of thing that I would like revisit on a day-to-day basis because I find it fun as a critic of games, but I have memories with it, and that's why I'm sharing it today, and those memories are good ones, and it's... Nostalgia is a legitimate reason for liking something. It's not really a good selling point because nostalgia is different for everybody, but it is still valid, I think. You know what, actually I'm going to go back down there. That's Triple Fin, who I think in later years I thought was named Huckleberry Finn because I just got the two confused.
Hi, Mr. Triple Fin.
Hey kids, why did the salmon swim upstream?
To get to the other side?
No, it wasn't aware of the current situation. Get it? Current situation?
It would be funnier if you didn't repeat the punchline after you said it. But yeah, I like this guy's puns. Let's hope he has another one for us.
What is it you brush your teeth with and sit on?
Gee, I don't know. What is it that you brush your teeth with and sit on?
A toothbrush and a chair.
I like that one. That one's stupid. It's like...
I can't wait.
I can't remember the specific joke, but it's something like... What is, Oh, what is it? It was like, what is green and has wheels? A pickle. I was lying about the wheels. So this is Space Invaders, but with crabs. This is not necessary, but it exists, so I'm showing it off. It is very bizarre that it exists. So yeah, you just spit water at the crabs, you rack up points, and I think there are more crabs and possibly other creatures if you play longer. I'm not going to bother playing longer. You could probably... Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't realize you had to click the arrow right away to leave. So I guess we'll be playing this for slightly longer. I don't think I was that familiar with Space Invaders whenever I first played this, so this was my experience with the Space Invaders concept, like my introduction to it. I think there end up being more creatures than just the crabs. I'm not positive. But yeah, it's pretty funky. I also like this rock. This rock that defies the laws of gravity, but I think rocks like this actually do exist in real life, so it must not really defy gravity.
Look, Luther, a purple sea urchin. Here, Luther, why don't you try your slingshot?
Great idea. I've been waiting.
It's not a slingshot, it's a fusion-powered, it's fusion-powered device with, what was it, like, I don't know, turbo rocks? Was that it? So yeah, I like this. There's not much to this, it's just a weird heads-up display and a cool noise, but I always kind of wished for the pulley in my playthroughs of this game as a kid because of that moment where you get to use the slingshot, and it's just kind of neat. I don't know. Because it's high-tech, yo. High-tech in this otherwise largely ocean-based game with primitive technology. Oh yeah, you can just click on the end here. If you just click on the last puddle after you've gone through it once, then you can go through automatically. It's kind of... it's a nice touch. Nice job on the game developer's part. Seriously though, the colors in this game look great. It's a really cool looking game. So we have 4 out of the 5 urchins. This is where the helmet would be if we bothered to... if we had to bother to get it. I have to wonder, like, on the playthroughs where there is a helmet there, how did that helmet get there? I can only assume that a diver came down here and died. Here's where one of the purple urchins would be on certain playthroughs. It's not there in this one, but I think the locations for those must be randomized, just like other things are, so... yeah, and here's Eddie the eel.
Nobody but nobody gets past Eddie the eel.
Do eels have a skeleton like that, or was that just convenience?
I'm in a bad mood because I missed lunch, and you ain't improving things any. Better skedaddle or I might just eat you and toss down your little green pal for dessert.
So, as you might guess, we give him the worm doodle. The tasty, scrumptious, delicious worm doodle. Oh.
Here's your chance to do a good deed and feed a hungry fellow sea creature.
You mean give up my worm doodle? My very favorite thing in the whole wide world?
Come on.
My very favorite thing, even more than friends and family and safety.
My duty is clear.
Wow! I'm getting a Major League Sugar Rush. See you guys later.
You're getting a Major League Sugar Rush, as opposed to
Very noble.
the tutorial level of Sugar Rush.
Yeah, I do noble pretty well, don't I?
That's a nice, cute animation. So now we can get the Life Preserver,
This life preserver is just
which
what
will
we
not be
need.
preserving any lives.
We
I like how it was
need
kind of
more
positioned
things
on the
like
ceiling
that.
because logically it would float, so it couldn't be on the ground. Also, we have to untie this rope down here. I like how the rope is visible all the way from up here. I don't know what kind of fish this is. I know that it must be the same kind of fish that's Mr. Johansson in Finding Nemo. You know, the, get yourselves out of Mr. Johansson's yard now. And he's like, ooh, where'd you go? Where'd you go? That guy?
Ahoy, Captain Schnitzel. How's the submarine?
Schnitzel.
Going nowhere fast, but that's okay. It gives me time to sing my Z ditties.
Oh, did we really need the sea shanty?
In the sea, it's charming and handsome.
Okay. I prefer the sea shanties from Cap'n in Animal Crossing. I only played Animal Crossing New Leaf for about a month before I got tired of it, and I imagine that's less time than a lot of people because those are not my favorite kinds of games, but
Be perfect for our
I liked
trap.
Cap'n. He was fun.
This, Luther.
And then Luther dies.
Whoa!
We did it!
The rotation on that didn't make any sense,
Two more things. and
because
we'll
the
have
bolt
it.
remained in place, but then it didn't remain in place. I know that was the most beautiful explanation, but yeah, it was just funky. So now we get to use...
For our trap, Captain Schnitzel?
Yeah, you can take it if
Ja?
you untie it.
Is he German?
Even I have never been able to untie.
I guess he must be. I've never caught on to that as a kid either. So, I think whenever I played this a bunch as a kid, I had the combinations memorized, but you're supposed to use the the book and just go to the right page. There's a number of different formations, and the first one on the first page was what we needed. So, you know, just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey! Now
We did
have
it.
The rope we need for our trap. There's only one more thing we need to build our trap.
That one more
These
thing
are
is the pulley, and we have everything that we need for the pulley, but as soon as we leave this screen... Cutscene! And then it's just the Panther King.
Yes,
That's a good voice.
We know you never had a toy in your whole life, but
So this is the Squid Father. That is his name. So in a game where we already have a stingray who is a drug dealer, or is at least based on drug dealers, we also have a squid who is based on a mob boss.
Yes, Squid Father. No more excuses. We'll do what we got.
He's a little bit less menacing than the Godfather, though, because, for one, he has a catfish, and the catfish is funny, and also, his motivation his motivation to be a villain is that he has never had toys and wants toys. So, he's a kid at heart, I guess. Whatever. I wonder if there are any other weird stories that I can tell, because, like, whenever I played this back in the day, I had a disc for it, and on that disc there were demos for other Humongous Entertainment games. There was, like, the first Freddi Fish, there was the the Pajama Sam game with,
Hey, Barnacle Bob, is this pulley for sale?
These
oh yeah,
ponies
this,
here I won't
I always
have
thought this
them.
pulley looked like a
I just
toaster.
keep 'em around so I have stories to tell.
Does he have any interesting stories? No, I'm curious. How about this
Hey,
one?
Barnacle Bob, tell us about that pulley.
Oh, does he have a song for all of them? Really?
Only see from the sky.
Why is everything in this game a song? I've been trying to avoid them, but it's inevitable, apparently. Whatever, I like Barnacle Bob, though. It's a good name. Are you gonna stop anytime soon? Are you just stuck in a loop? What is going on here? Did I find a glitch? I'm relatively sure that I just glitched the game somehow. Like, how do you mess up the programming on a game like this? Okay, well, I guess that's it for this episode. I will see you next time.